Welcome back to Paranormal Unveiling, where you can get your weekly fix for your paranormal addiction. I'm your host, psychic medium and paranormal investigator, Josh. Now sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the show. And if you enjoy the music for today's intro, it's a little something I created. I call it Fade. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another week to get your fix for your paranormal addiction. I am your host, Josh, psychic medium, paranormal investigator, and today I have a couple of very special guests with me. They've actually had me on their show, and now I get to interview them. So I'm pretty happy to do that. I'm glad that they came and agreed to be on the show. Love you guys. Had a great time on your show, so I'm glad that you could get over here and we could get into some nitty gritties and stuff. But I have with me members of the Vapor Paranormal. They also do a show called Vibe Time with Geri. Say hello, guys. Glad you.
Hi.
Hey there.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Doing great.
So before we get started, I just want to make sure that the listeners know how to get a hold of you guys and see what you guys do. David, I'll start with you first. Where can we find you on social media? What do you got going on as far as the paranormal? Let us know where we can reach out and see what you got going.
Okay. Like I said, David Flowers, Virginia Paranormal Occurrence Research. I'm the founder and lead investigator. You can find me on Facebook, David Flowers, or my other page is Vapor 757.
Okay.
Or Virginia Paranormal Occurrence Research, either one.
All right.
Yeah. That's how you can find me.
Now you also kind of are the guide for a haunted location. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's at the Manor House is at the historic Powhatan Resort in Williamsburg, Virginia. Right now we're doing it 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 9 p.m. where I give you it's a crash course in the paranormal 101.
Okay.
And then after that part's over with, we do a little ghost hunt.
Okay. And how do they get a hold of you for that one?
You can contact me through Facebook, or you can shoot me an email, vapor757.david@AOL.
Okay.
Yeah, I still use AOL.
I was just about to say, man, that's old school. That's old school. And how about you, Geri? Can you tell us a little bit, like, how can we find you on social media? What do you got going? Because I know you have a lot going on that you do.
I have quite a bit.
You are a particularly special person with abilities and gifts, and I know you do some Reiki healing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How do we get a hold of you?
Yeah.
What do you got going on in your life?
Quite a bit. You can find me under Geri Pritchard Reyes, and you can also find me under Vibe Time with Geri. I do a podcast with David Flowers every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have a Facebook page together as far as Vibe Time with Geri is concerned. And Reiki, I do a lot of energy work. I don't know if people are familiar with what Reiki is, but it is energy healing. It's balancing to your body. A lot of times people will be depressed. They have headaches. They are stressed out. They can't sleep. Reiki helps heal that. It helps a person to be able to sleep. It helps a person to not be depressed, because when when you have your chakras off, if y'all don't know what chakras are, those are little energy centers in your body, and we have them all over the place, but we have 7 main chakras in the front part of the body, which start from the base where your genital area is, and it works its way up to the crown chakra. Those are the ones that I focus on. When those energy centers are not balanced, then that person is not balanced, because each one of those energy centers are connected to an organ in the body.
Mhm.
Every single one of those centers are. And, if you get, let's say, headaches, for instance, and you want to balance your crown chakra and, of course, your third eye, and that's where Reiki comes in and helps with that.
Awesome.
So I also help people like you and I that have psychic abilities and have different gifts if they're lost, because I don't ever want anybody to be alone or feel like they're alone and they don't know what to do. So I have a lot of clients that come to me for that as well. And I've
Awesome.
recently started incorporating sound healing into my Reiki practice.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
So that's very effective. And I like you said, I do a multitude of things. I customize roller bottles based off of a person's aura or whatever's going on with them at the time. Um, just so many things. My biggest thing is my roller bottles that I customize for people. They all have their little different, everybody has their own little recipe, their own individual recipe just for them.
Neat.
So nobody can mimic that or take that recipe, because
Right.
it's their own personalized little recipe.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
So,
Cool.
yeah,
I actually didn't know that part about you,
yeah,
the roller bottles.
yeah.
I knew that you had alluded to me before that you kind of read auras.
Hmm.
And we've never delved into that, I guess, but
Hmm.
um now that we know where we can find you, what you guys got going on, uh, some of the questions I have, David, I'll start with you.
Okay.
What, as an investigator, okay, it seems like there's always that one point in your life that made you want to be an investigator. What was that experience that that kind of happened to you? It seems like it's for everybody. What happened to you that made you go, you know what, I want to research this further?
Well, I originally got into ghost hunting in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from a small town in Texas, and right outside my hometown there used to be this old abandoned farmhouse.
Okay.
That rumor was that it was haunted. So one night, some friends and I went out there just to see what we could see, and I looked in one of the windows, and I saw a rocking chair rocking,
Oh, wow.
and it scared the crap out of me at first.
Understandable.
Yeah, but I just got interested in it. And then what really made me um, super interested in the paranormal and wanting to get more into the investigating side of it was when I was in the Navy. My ship was in Egypt, and I got to take a trip to the pyramids. And
Okay.
I was inside one of the pyramids, and I had my little miniature tape recorder going, and I caught some sounds that sound like a different language.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
and that was just super cool. And now I'm not going to sit here and say yes, that was paranormal, because there were other people
right.
in the chamber with me, but I think it was paranormal.
So let me ask you, I know that the Egyptian language is one thing,
Yeah,
like the current language they use, but 2,500 years ago, it's the dead language. How they spoke, we don't really know how they spoke.
yeah.
It wasn't something that you could identify as the modern Egyptian language?
I could not identify it at all.
Okay. All right.
All I know is it was not English.
Right. Right. And you would expect it shouldn't be if you're in the pyramid,
Right.
in Egypt.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a very unique story. You don't hear too many people there. Yeah, I was tooling around in Egypt and caught some EVPs, That's pretty neat. I like that. I like that. How
Yeah.
about you, Jerry? I'm gonna guess. This is my guess that you've been having experiences your whole life, so you've been involved in the paranormal, whether you liked it or not, forever.
Very true. I've had this since I was 6 years old, but I didn't start investigating paranormal until 2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had always just did, readings, went to different places, did readings on them, see what I felt, talked to people on the other side, did private readings for people. And I met a group from New Jersey. This lady in our area was having problems with her house, and she wanted me to come over and smudge it, fix it.
Okay.
And I did not realize that she was having a team come out from New Jersey called New Jersey Rope, um, to come and help her with her house.
Okay.
And so that was when I first got exposed to paranormal investigations. I wasn't watching
Oh,
shows or doing anything. I just wasn't interested, honestly. And I think my attitude was I see it every day. So why do I need to investigate? That was
right.
my attitude, because I'm like, I
Right.
see it all the time. Every single day I'm having to deal with somebody. So why do I need to do that?
Right.
But once I met them, they were a really good group of people, and they kind of took me in and put me under their wing. And Frank Lazar is a really sweet person. I went to classes in New Jersey because
Mhm.
he does classes. So I went to classes, and then I started changing my outlook a little bit. And I was like, okay, so I want to be able to match what I have psychic on the psychic side to the equipment that they use on the
Right.
paranormal side. So that was the
Confirmation.
attitude that I started taking, and then it just went from there. Then I ended up a few years ago meeting Ryan and Michael White. They're off a crop, and that's how I got involved with Dennis Eslock. So I'm on two teams. I'm on David's team, but I'm also on crop,
Okay.
which is Dennis Eslock's team that we spoke with on my show on the Paranormal
Uh-huh.
Roundtable. So I'm on two teams. But I just wanted to be able to take my psychic abilities and match it up with equipment for validation. And it
Right.
works beautifully.
Right. So that's kind of where I'm at in my life now, because I went through the whole phase where I was giving people private readings,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I did pretty good at that. Um, but I'm like you. I've had experiences my whole life, and I think how I really the true intention of why I started was to get out there and see it more.
Yeah.
The things I was already seeing on occasion, while I was sitting in my house or something. But it's always fascinating for me to ask this question to you specifically, Jerry. How do your gifts? I don't even like to call them gifts. How do your abilities? Because sometimes they don't feel like gifts. Um,
Mm-hmm.
how do your abilities present? Do you see? Do you hear? Are you claircognizant?
It's actually all of it, because I hear
Right.
it, I see it. Um, so it's pretty much everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of it.
I understand that.
Not all the time. Sometimes it'll present, sometimes I'll hear it, sometimes I'll feel it and I don't see it. That
Mhm.
happened the other day. I felt something, and by the time I felt it, it was too late. It was
Yeah.
already, so let's take her over,
Right.
because I channel too, but not by voluntary channeling,
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not by voluntary. I half the time I don't remember what
Hmm.
happens.
Really?
So it's a yeah.
Right. Right.
And that has started. I didn't realize that that's what was happening to me in 2014 when I had an experience, but it's beginning to be more and more frequent here in 2022 and now 2023. And so I'm learning to try to be able to come out of when that happens without having to have David Flowers going, Jerry, what's going on? What's going
Right.
on?
How to
Because,
control it better. Yeah.
yeah, how to control it better. And I haven't quite learned how to do that, but it's been happening quite a bit.
Wow.
So,
I
yeah.
didn't know about that.
Yeah.
That's not something you've talked to me about. So that's interesting.
Well, it's something that's very new to me, and
Yeah.
it's something that I haven't talked to a lot of people about because it's just weird to me right now.
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's something that's new to me, and I'm trying to fill it out because I never believed in channeling. I didn't think that people should do that because I always felt that you could channel something or that you don't want or bring something back that you don't want.
Right.
But the thing is that it's been happening I didn't give you my permission to come into me like that circumstances. And Vanessa Hogel, who was another psychic medium, has been actually mentoring me through this because she has the same thing happen, and at least I'm not feeling alone
Right. Right.
because I was feeling very alone, and I I don't like to feel that way, but I was
Right.
feeling alone
Right.
because I don't know who to talk to.
Right.
So
Right. I had a similar when I first started out where I decided, because like I said, it's been my whole life, but it was only at, like the beginning of my 40s where I decided to open up and really explore what I could do and figure out what I could do and accept it. And in the beginning, I felt very alone because I didn't know who to talk to. Like,
mhm,
why is this happening? Why does
right,
this come to me? The questions I had to either figure them out on my own or
yes,
just deal with the fact that I'm not going to know until I got in. I met some really good people that kind of mentored me a little bit and could
mhm,
answer my questions. And I was like, it makes sense. So it was, but I also, I've had a couple of times where I feel like that's what has happened. Um, and it was almost like I was watching a movie of it. Um, I when the entity left, it was almost like I could still remember little bits and pieces, but not the whole, say 5 or 10 minutes of it happening. I could remember maybe 10 or 15 seconds worth of it.
yeah, yeah. And
Oh,
see, I can't remember any of it, and it's I think that's what's scary to me is that I can't remember it.
right.
And the only way that a person is going to know if I'm still being channeled is through my eyes because they turn so dark.
Oh,
That's the
really?
only way. So he knows what to look for
Yeah.
because when I started investigating and started doing helping him with tours at the manor house, one of the first things I told him is, this is some things that I have going on. Are you willing to work with me on that? Because it's a scary thing. Um, for people that if you're not familiar with it. So he knows what to look for. And sometimes I will intentionally channel.
Yeah.
I'll
Allow it.
intentionally get into that frame of mind as long as I'm being supervised. I have my little
Right.
supervisor, my
Thank you, David.
my guard over there. Yeah, I got my
Right.
supervisor right there that will guard that, which is a good thing. But there's been a few incidences where it didn't just catch him off guard. It caught me off guard too.
Right. Right.
So,
It's definitely a weird feeling. I will say that.
mhm,
It's
yeah,
only happened a few times to me, and it was definitely unintentional, and I did not ask for it to
yeah,
happen. Uh,
yeah.
but it's hard to explain.
It is, and
It's very hard to
that's
explain.
yes. Thank you,
It,
because me and Vanessa was talking about that the other day because I told her I said I do not know how to explain it, and she said it's how do you really have no explanation for it,
right. Right.
you know
Well,
so
thankfully, you have people like David that can,
yeah,
take
yeah,
care of you during those sessions.
right,
When it's
the
Yeah,
intentional ones.
I'm a
right.
metaphysical bouncer.
Yeah, he's my
There you go.
metaphysical bouncer,
I,
that's
I'll
right.
be I'll be honest with you. As far as my experience, once I met one of my guides, his name is Carl. That's not his actual name, but that's what he has asked me to call him because apparently his actual name is not something that I could pronounce. So he said, "Call me Carl." And he's kind of like he's the guide that I use when I'm removing malevolent stuff, taking care of that stuff. He's like I don't even know how to describe him. He's like the bouncer. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, you and me work together, we get rid of this. Since that's happened, I haven't, since I've gotten into contact and understood my guides a little better, it hasn't happened. And that's been a few years now. Almost like I don't know if they're afraid to try to channel with me, or if
Right.
he kind of goes, look, unless he says yes, you're not doing it. I don't
Right.
know. I don't understand enough to answer that question part of it, but that's the few times it has happened. It's such a indescribable experience.
Yeah.
And like I said, I remembered, it happened for 5 or 10 minutes, and it was like I could see little pictures, maybe 10 or 15 seconds of it. But for 10 minutes, it was like I was gone. Like I was just tucked away inside somewhere.
Right.
And it's very strange. Very strange.
Yeah. Or those experiences where you're made to feel how a person passed away, and you are totally drained with that. I had that happen one time. I was supposed to go with Crop actually and go and help, and I was going to go investigate a place out in Matthews County, and I couldn't. I passed over the Coleman Bridge from Yorktown. A soldier got in the car with me. It's like he just jumped in, and I was like, dude, I'm driving.
I've had that happen.
I'm like, I'm trying to drive.
Had that happen.
So I'm ignoring him. Well, it didn't work. He sat in me, and I was on the couch for 2.5 days
Oh, wow.
watching this battle going on. It was terrible. And watching how he died, watching how other people died. I had no energy. I was totally drained. I couldn't get up, and I ended up missing that investigation. I told Dennis, I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it to that. I'm sorry.
Right.
I couldn't get up. I couldn't move.
Yeah, there's some things that we just can't help. Not everybody understands that. Those that do, that have some compassion, understand that investigating for people like you and I is much different than other people investigating. It's a much different experience. But so David,
you feel everything.
Yeah, exactly. Everything. For a long time, especially in the beginning, I had an issue with I would feel how they died, or I would feel the emotions of prior to death, and it was very overwhelming.
Right. But not only that, when you're an empath too, if you're investigating with other people, you're feeling all their stuff too.
Right.
So it's like all that's being compounded along with spirits,
right. Yeah.
And David Flowers, I tell him, the more you hang out with me, the more metaphysical you're going to become, because you can't help it. And he knows he's getting his experiences.
Right.
Yeah. And just the other night, after the tour was over with, we were sitting down talking, and all of a sudden I physically see something sitting across the room, and I never see anything. I never feel anything. But here within the last year of working with her, I'm not trying to say I'm an empath or psychic in any way, shape, or form, because I'm not. I'm as sensitive as a rock.
Okay.
But in the last year working with her, I have started sensing things.
Having more experience with the energy field.
Yeah. In fact, one night, she was channeled by a rather nasty one. And I forced him out. And I was cleaning the thing. We getting ready to leave, cleaning things up, and I went upstairs to the manor house, and I started walking back downstairs, and I got punched in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And but it's all her fault.
He must have upset one of my boyfriends. I'm telling you, he upset him, and he punched him in the back of the head.
Right. We were just talking about that before the show. We were having some visual difficulties, I guess you could say. Hopefully it doesn't happen during the recording, but it was just really weird. And she goes, "Oh, one of my boyfriends messing with this kid." Oh, I was cracking up. So, David, let me ask you, how long have you been investigating for? Like actually
I,
investigating?
I've been actually investigating since that episode in the pyramid, and that was in 1987.
Okay.
Yeah, but I did my first ghost hunt in 1985.
So you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, just a couple years.
you you've been doing this. Well, I mean, you've been to one or two,
Yeah.
right? What's some of the best evidence that you felt like you've caught? The one that's most personal to you.
Uh, that actually two of them, and they both come from the manor house.
Mm-hmm.
I caught what I believe is a true orb on video. It
Okay.
wasn't a still photo; it's a video. And I also caught a full body apparition in a still photo.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Good catch.
yeah. Those are my two best ones,
Okay. No,
and
let me ask
several.
you
Yeah.
real quick. What experience have you had that has affected you most personally? Not just the evidence you caught, but
Okay.
it's a situation you've been in that's, I don't know, kind of touched your heart or really affected how you proceeded with investigating from then.
Um, it'd have to be whenever somebody asks for help and I am able to help them.
Right. Yeah.
They just and I'm sure you know it just does something to you,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why I keep doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you know as well as I do, you can go hours and hours and hours and hours
Right.
not get a single thing.
Right. It can get very boring sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. You know, I had a case that was not too long ago. In fact, the mother of the family was on the show a couple of episodes ago. I want to say it was episode 10. Um, and you know what she described beforehand, and then after me and my sister came, after we had another group, Longhorn Paranormal, that came out also. What happened after we came? Just hearing her story of how much better it was and how much we helped her. Um, that's the kind of stuff. It's almost like a drug. It's very addicting. Like if I can help somebody,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can be the one, I want to be the one. And it's very,
Yeah.
it's very personal, very heartfelt experience when you have something like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Jerry, kind of the same questions. What's been something that an experience that you've had that's really kind of really touched your heart that
I
kind of
would have to say
affected you?
crossing people over, helping to cross people over is a big thing for me when
Right.
and like you said, when they ask for help and you're able to help them, or when I'm doing a reading and you know that somebody is really grieving over a lost one and you're able to make that connection with them and make their life more relieved, just make them feel
Right.
more relieved that their loved one is okay. And
Right.
because we all know, or we all want to believe that our loved one is okay, but when they validate something or they show you something and they really let that person know, that's very rewarding to me.
Right.
And I've always been in fields of work, no matter what it is, helping people, because my background is counseling, substance abuse treatment,
Awesome.
so and probation. But even in those two fields, it's always been helping somebody else. So
Right.
it's just rewarding to me when you can. I
Right.
always like that saying, touch a heart, touch
Is there,
somebody else's heart.
I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've done, wouldn't say a huge amount, maybe 100 or so private readings.
Mhm.
Um, for the most part, once I do a reading for you, after that, I don't, you could call me a week later and I'm not going to remember every specific detail because the information is not for me, it's for you, right?
Right.
It's not meant for me to remember, it's meant for you to remember.
Right.
But has there ever been, because I know I've had a couple of instances where the reading not only affected them, but I remember every bit of it.
Yeah,
Have you had an experience like that where you
I
just
did.
a standout reading?
One,
Right.
one or two, and
They're
that's it.
few. They're very few.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very few. And everybody that comes to me, like if a lot of my readings come out in Reiki. Some people will sit down and they'll do a personal reading with somebody. I don't do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people up front, schedule a Reiki appointment with me. And if one of your loved ones step out, then I
Right.
will be glad to give you the messages. If they don't, I don't have control over that is how I do it.
Do it spirit led.
Yeah, so I just go where I'm guided to go.
Right. Same.
So but during my sessions, I will make people record those sessions. I have them put their video player on, I have them put it on the table, and we record the whole thing because I'm somewhere else and I am not going to remember what I told you.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not. So I
Right.
just have every single client that comes here for Reiki now. When I do long distance Reiki, because I don't do it just in person, I do
Okay.
distance.
Okay.
I don't meet people in person. I message them. Like, let's say they set up an appointment with me on Facebook. I'll message them, tell them when I'm ready to start. And then I do my thing. And when I'm done, I'll tell them I'm done. And then I give them their full reading off of Messenger,
Okay.
because in that way, it gives that person a chance to look back on it,
Oh, okay.
because when people are like, aren't you going to video me with Reiki? Nair. Because,
Right.
it's overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? There's so many messages, there's so much stuff there. It's overwhelming to a person. So I want
Right.
them to be able to go back and look at it,
Right. Right.
so that's how
Have
that
a
stuff
reference.
works. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I actually, and we've become good friends since, but I had an experience. Happened to be on TikTok doing lives, and I try to do spirit led because spirit is way smarter than I am.
yeah,
So when they're ready to come through, then I'll receive that.
yes,
But happened to be on lives. I was kind of giving readings to a few people, and there was one young lady that came into the session, into the live, and as soon as I saw her name, all she did was say hello, that sort of thing. As soon as I saw her name, I was like, "Hey, stick around."
hmm,
As soon as I saw her name, uh,
yeah,
she had her dad came through, and now this young lady, she was skeptical, very skeptical of mediums in general. Her dad was actually a paranormal investigator, but she wasn't convinced. Let's just say that. And her dad came through, and I gave her some very specific stuff that I won't mention, but um, it's those few and far between. I can still remember that reading.
yeah,
Her dad still has come to me several times after the fact, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on with you? Why is your dad over here saying I need to check on you?" I've got another good friend, our team member, that happens. Her grandfather comes to me.
yeah,
Uh, I gave her a reading. That's kind of how we really we became friends, and I gave her a reading, and we've become grown even bigger friends. But it's the few that you really do remember. It's kind of neat.
yes, yeah,
Kind of neat.
yeah. And I'll get that once in a while. One of my friends' fathers who passed away, if they're going through something, I'll reach out to them and I'll be like, what's going on with you?
Right.
Because they're not going to step out just to say, hello, Jerry, how you doing? There's something
Right.
going on, because they're not
Right.
going to just step
Right.
out and say hello to me,
Right.
So yeah, there's a few that I've had like that I can remember, but
Right.
not very many. Not
Yeah,
very many
it's
people.
only a
Not
few. It's only with a few people that even to this day do their loved ones come say, "Hey, check on them, please." And I
yeah.
think it's because they know we hear them.
Yes.
They know we can be their voice, so they're like, "Hey, can you please check on
Yeah.
them?" my
Yeah.
loved one. And it's kind of awesome. I don't know how you feel about it, but it's kind of awesome when they come to you and they're like, "Hey, do me a favor."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, David, I'll get into some particulars of investigation. Uh what kind of equipment is your go-to equipment? Like, what's your favorite piece of equipment that if you have nothing else, you better have this?
My body camera.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, because it's a Bob Love. It's the kind that the police officers use.
Okay.
And the audio and video on it both are outstanding.
Wow. I've heard several people talk about body cams.
Yeah, and that's if I could only have one piece of equipment to go on an investigation with, that would be it.
And have you caught some good stuff with your body cam before?
Oh yeah, yeah. And in fact, last year, Jerry and I were doing an investigation, and we were taking a break.
Mm-hmm.
And she still had her body camera going,
Mm-hmm.
and we're sitting down talking. All of a sudden, we heard a deep breath, a disembodied voice
Mm-hmm.
with our own ears, and we caught that on video.
Wow.
Because she had her body camera going.
There it is.
Oh.
There's the spirits talking. The spirits are talking again.
Yeah.
Telling you.
So that body camera, that is my go-to piece.
I've heard
got
several
all the
people say they love their body cam because the body cams now have really good audio and pretty decent video. I've been really thinking about getting that. I think it's an interesting.
Yeah, it was $159.
Yeah. That's
And
not too bad.
Yeah.
Considering.
Yeah, and the night vision on there.
Yeah.
You know how like your night vision camcorder, that'll drain your battery in 15 minutes.
Right.
Not on the body camera. You got hours.
Wow.
Yeah. One time I left my body camera at the manor house and we left and I went into a full-blown panic. I went back out there and luckily the next day it was still there.
Yeah.
But we started recording at 8 or 9? Was it 8 or 9?
Yeah. I believe it was 8.
It stopped at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So it was a long.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty good session.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it. I've heard several people say, "Hey, I'm using this body cam and it's awesome." I've been thinking about getting one for myself, but
I bought a new one because I thought the one that I thought the audio was going out because the last 2 times we've done investigations, my body cam has done like a scrambly audio. And I'm like, gosh, I can't have that. So I went ahead and I went back on Amazon and I ordered one that's just like the one I have, because the one I have originally was about the cost of what David's is, but this one I got for $100, and it's just as good as the one that I have, the Bob Love. It's a Bob Love, but it has it under a different name, but it's still Bob Love.
Still made.
It has all the same features and everything. And it's just like the other body cams. So now I got 2 body cams. Evidently something was toying with it because I had David take mine home. I was like, I want you to wear it yourself and then take it home and listen to it. And he had no problems with it whatsoever. So now I got 2 body cameras.
Right. Here's the thing is I don't think people understand that energy does affect our electronics.
Yeah.
I've had I've had three different cameras. I had a GoPro, had a static cam. I had my cell phone on a tripod and everything. And all 3, the entire, except for the intro that I shot, kind of the B-roll footage, the intro to the location that I shot, every other file was corrupted on 3 different cameras.
Yeah. It was
now tell me how that happens. You know what I mean?
It was corrupted. Yeah.
Right. Energy affects some of our equipment like that sometimes. So
you
have to send me the link on the one you got. I will take a look at it.
I will, because I really like it. I'm very pleased with it. But it does. You're right. I did a show with Dennis Eslock one time, and the whole entire show static the whole time. It
Yeah.
was staticky. I couldn't hear him. And I was like, you know what? I'm not having him back on my show again because all he does is static up my stuff with all his little abilities, you know?
Right.
And but it was weird because right after we got off the air, everything was fine. Everything went back to normal. It was like something didn't want us to talking on a show together because it was a specific interview with just me and him. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we were going to be talking about the Cabin on 360 and some of their events. And I really think Dobby, their little malevolent spirit down there, didn't want him talking.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was static the whole way through. And I was like, you
Right.
got to be freaking kidding me.
Right. After all that
Yeah.
time you put in to record all this stuff, and then it's
Yeah.
just shot
It was a
completely.
hot
And
mess.
and I had the same thing, when I went back a couple of days later, because I didn't have time to review it right away, but went back a couple of days later, found out that I had no video, no audio, no nothing. It was just
A
gone
mess.
from three
Yeah.
different devices.
Yeah.
Uh, so I was like, what the heck happened? So I took out all of my camera gear, set it down, did a test with it, and it worked flawlessly, perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
There was absolutely nothing wrong with my equipment, but something at that location did not want us filming.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was weird because like I said, the last couple of times with my body camera on the audio part, I'm sorry, I got to pull one for my medication. Um on my body cam, it was just the audio was horrible. So I was like,
Right.
David, take it home. I need you to wear it and listen to it, please. And it was fine. But it never
Right.
hurts to have a second body camera. So
Right. Right.
now
Yeah.
I can do front and back
That I was just
because
thinking that
yeah,
you can
now I
check
can
what's
do front
behind
and
you.
back because now I can see what's on my back because we're always running a body camera in the front.
Right.
But what about the back? And what is it that what we miss in the back? Because so many times, and I'm sure it happens with you, spirit steps in behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very often they step in front of me, with the exception of going to the VA the other day and that lady sitting in that chair, just like you and I are sitting there, and I
Mm-hmm.
just froze dead in my tracks. And my friend Tim was like, what has just happened to you? I said that, and as soon as I blinked, she went away, and I was like, oh my gosh. And you would think that you wouldn't be in shock over that because we see it almost every day, but she was so solid sitting in that chair.
I completely
I had to do a triple take. And
right.
he was like, you should be used to this by now. He's like,
Yeah.
why are you so surprised by what you're seeing? I said, I can't help it because she was
You don't
so,
expect it.
no. I I thought, and then the next person, the next bench I went to, the next few chairs I went up to, there was a man sitting there, and I had to make sure that he was really sitting there as a real human being,
Right.
know.
Right.
And it psychologically messes with you like that. People don't
Right.
understand.
Yeah. I was recently my son was sick, and he had had a seizure. So we were like, we're taking him to the hospital, right? Went to the hospital. The hospital was not busy. My wife, I was still at work, so my wife got there before I got there. Well, I came into the emergency room, the waiting room there, and of course there was the lady behind the counter there, and then there was a lady that was sitting in the chair. But that was the only people that were there besides me, right? So they said, well, we can only have one parent back there right now because of we're doing some tests. So if you'll just sit down, as soon as we can get you back there, we'll get you back there. I said, all right. So I sat down for a minute, and I see this lady in a hospital gown pushing her like a roller thing with her IVs hanging off. And I look over and I'm like, kind of weird that there's a lady just in the waiting room of the emergency room and they're not saying nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, and why would they let a patient just roam around the emergency room?
Yeah.
So I literally got up and started walking that way. And as I did, she was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right. I'm going to step outside, have a cigarette, clear my mind a little bit, because you
Yeah.
don't expect it. But she looked as solid as you guys
Yeah.
did to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't get over the fact that they just had some patient wandering around the waiting room. I was like, there's no
Yeah.
way. There's no
Yeah. I
way.
felt that way in ICU too, because I was trying to relax relax and just forget about spirit world for a little bit, long
Right.
enough for me to get some recovery.
Right.
I couldn't sleep. They're walking back and forth, solid, not transparent, solidly back and forth at my curtain, on the outside door, because they have those sliding doors that close in ICU. And on that
Mhm.
side, I'm sitting there watching. And I asked the nurse, I'm like, don't y'all's windows open up here? And he's like, no, unfortunately they don't. And I was like, that's really a shame, because you
You
got
need to
all
let
these
you need to let some
people
of them out.
trapped in here. And he
Right.
goes, yeah, at the other hospital, the windows opened up, but this one, they don't open up. So we have trapped souls. I said, obviously you do.
Right. Right. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I see sometimes, it's not an every time occasion, but um typically I feel their energy before anything
Yeah.
else.
That's right.
Um so you know when you have that experience of like, this was a legit person standing there, I couldn't see through them. I mean, it looked like you or I standing here
Yeah.
right now. It's just, it catches you off guard,
It
if you don't
does.
see that every time. I don't I've tried to develop that a little bit more so I can see every time when I feel something. But it doesn't always come through like that. So to see one, you're
Yeah.
like, what in the hell just happened here? Like, you have
Yeah.
to gather your thoughts a little bit. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I kick myself because there are warning signs before channeling happens,
Hmm.
and I'm not catching them.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the footstep quick enough. I
Hmm.
heard it, but it was too late. By the time I heard it go, step in behind me, it was too
Hmm.
late. I was already taken over. So like I said, those are the things that I'm trying to work on to try
Right.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
understand it. But gosh, sometimes it happens so fast you don't, and now my guard is up so high, nothing passes through, and I've got to lower it down some, but I don't know how far down to lower it to
Just in
where it's
case.
not going to
Yeah.
sit inside me. Because what was the show called? Was it Ghost? Is that the name of that show with Whoopi
Oh,
Goldberg?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
whoever wrote that had to have been a medium of some sort, because that
Right.
that show is our life, or at least mine, and I'm sure it's yours too. Every day, if you
Right.
don't deliver that message, you will be listening to 99 bottles of beer on the wall all night long until
Right.
you give the message. But
Right.
when she's in the scene and that person sits in her the way that they do,
Hmm.
that's what happens. And but they sit real fast with me, and I don't,
Right.
by the time
Before you can catch it. Yeah.
I can catch it, I'm saying my safety word, and I'm looking at David Flowers like a dumbass.
That's all right.
I'm looking at David Flowers going, why am I sitting in the grass, or why am I, what has happened? Because I just don't know.
Right. Right. David, it's a good thing you're around. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say she's gonna
one
get in
night,
trouble one of these days.
one night she thought I was mad at her because she'd just been channeled, and when she come to, I'm forcing her outside to do some grounding.
Yeah.
She said, "But it's cold." I said, "I don't give a damn. You're
Right.
going outside."
Right. You
And
need
she thought I
her
was mad
gun.
at her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's
So
that's it's kind of funny that it's funny and it's not funny if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
some of the experiences after it happens, you can kind of laugh about it, like, what the hell? But when
Yeah.
it's happening to you, you're like, now, with you not having those same experiences as Jerry, does it happen? Do you ever, how do I word this question? It's almost like when you see somebody they just have a seizure, you
Hmm.
freak out. You're like, holy crap, what's going on? Do you get kind of that feeling of
The very
anxiety
first
almost?
the very first time I witnessed it, we were lucky that we had a couple of people there with us that knew what to do,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd never witnessed it before, and I had no clue what the hell to do.
Right.
But after that, I did a little bit of reading and asking questions, and
Right.
every time it's happened after that, I'm not going to say ready because you're never ready for
Right.
it,
Right. Yeah.
but I was able to handle it.
Prepared enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I was prepared enough. And I've gotten to the point now where when when it does happen, I've always got a recorder next to me,
Right.
and I record everything.
Have you come in tune enough to where you can kind of see it coming on?
No,
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 not just
I
yet.
yeah, I'm maybe 5 seconds before it happens,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but
It's the same for her.
yeah, same for
It's
her.
so quick.
Yeah,
Just like, oh
yeah,
crap.
yeah. But when it does happen, I'm ready for it.
Right. You're prepared enough to handle the
Yeah,
situation. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I let it go on as long as they're trying to communicate with me.
Right. As long as it
But
feels
if
safe enough.
yeah, but if they're just there just to be there, they're not communicating us. And I'd say, okay, it's time for you to go.
Right. Right. Now, what are some of the things that you do to try and snap her out of it, for lack of a better term?
I say, okay, it's time to let Jerry come back. I make sure to use her name.
Mm-hmm.
Let Jerry come back. And I put my hand right between her shoulder blades. Because that seems to be where they like to enter from.
Mm-hmm. It's always
So
from the back.
yeah.
Always from
So
the back.
I put my hand on it and said, okay, it's time for you to go. Let Jerry come back. And
Right.
there's sometimes when they don't want she is when she's being channeled, she's really strong.
Not me.
Right.
And I've physically had to fight her.
Wow.
And not when I say fight her, I'm not throwing punches or anything,
Right. Right.
but she's trying to throw me off, and it's like I'm back in my rodeo days.
Holding on to the bull.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But she's they come to find out I'm stronger than they are.
right. Right. I don't think a lot of people understand how much power we have over entities, beings, whatever you want, spirits, whatever you want to call it. Having a physical body and the energy that we carry is stronger than them in most cases. I'd say 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
I don't see.
Turning into
I
you
start
again.
I start talking about something that they don't want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Keep talking.
right.
They're like, stop talking about that, Josh.
Hey,
Stop.
yeah, I better quit. Anyways, so let me ask you, I'll start with you, David. How do you feel about the paranormal TV shows that we have? A lot of them have been canceled lately, but that whole kind of drama going on. But how do you
Yeah.
feel about the TV shows? Do you feel like that there's some better than others? Do you feel like they're truthful? Do you feel like they're a good representation of what we do?
The only one that I've ever watched that I feel like is even close to being a true representation is the original Ghost Hunters.
Oh, okay, yeah, Jason Hawes and
Yeah, yeah. Now back when they first started,
right, right,
I think that's close, but for
right.
the most part, it's
Highly dramatized.
yeah. And I understand it because people aren't going to tune every week to watch nothing.
Right, right,
And I just wish they wouldn't call it reality television.
right. Yeah, it's not really representative of what we do. How
Yeah.
about you, Jerry? Do you feel the same way, or is there a
I
certain show
do.
you like?
I do. They're not really. And my attitude again has always been I see this stuff every day, so why do I want to watch this?
Right.
I
Yeah.
have watched a few of them. I feel that they are very much over dramatized, which again, I mean, they have to be, but
To a point, yeah, I
unfortunately,
think.
it leads people to believe that's what paranormal investigating and ghost hunting really, really is when it's not.
Yeah,
And that's the thing that upsets me the most is you get people that come into the manor house and they're expecting jump scares, and we don't do jump scares. Whatever happens out there happens out there. That's it.
Right. Right.
And I blame a lot of that on TV. A lot of it.
Right. Right.
Quite a
It
bit
gives
of it.
people
We did an investigation in Pamplin Park over the weekend. We had an 11-year-old kid on that investigation with us, and he had watched so many ghost shows it wasn't even funny, and he got a real good dose of what paranormal investigating really, really is, and it
Right.
wasn't anything like the TV shows that he had been
Right.
watching. He's like, "This
Right.
is very I'm bored," and I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
"Oh, well."
Right. And he's
It
11, so his attention
and
span's
I'm
about
like,
like this.
yeah, I'm like, we got about 45 more minutes out here in these cold woods.
Right.
So I guess you're going to be bored for another 45 minutes. It's
Right.
so, yeah.
My son is the same way. Unless there's something happening, he's just kind of, what are we
Yeah.
doing, Dad? Like,
Yeah.
make something happen. I'm like, well, I'm trying, but
Let's stir it a little bit.
yeah, I've taken him on I have 11-year-old son. He's my youngest child, and we have a cemetery. It's a historical cemetery that's I could throw a rock and hit it from my house, and it's a pretty safe place, which is why I took him there, right? And I had been there before, and he kind of got a taste. He's over here watching Sam and Colby and
Yeah.
these other internet stars, but he got a taste, and he was actually pretty good about it, like the walking around and trying to communicate. He was really big into the communication part of it, and then he had an experience where he heard something in his ear, and I let him carry his own camera and everything, and
Yeah.
you see him react to that, but then I caught the EVP in the audio, and it was what he heard. But none of the rest of us, the other two of us that were there, didn't hear it. It was only in his ear, but he heard it out loud, and then we caught an EVP of it. I think some kids are a little more prepared for it than others, but they're 11, so they don't have a huge attention span. We've explored the elementals that are in the woods here, because I live in the middle of nowhere. How do you feel about kids being on investigation? Since you brought that up, how do you feel about taking them to a place that, my opinion, I wouldn't take them to a place where I know that they could possibly have a bad experience. But how do you feel about having, oh God, they don't want me to talk about this either.
It's weird that it turns me into you.
Right. There's some kind of weird psychic connection of whenever we talk about something they don't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's been happening. Yeah.
God, it's so crazy because this has never happened in the thousands of meetings I've been on Zoom. But how do you guys feel? I'll ask this question to both of you. How do you guys feel about having, kind of the newer generation come up and see if they like investigating?
David?
I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Because there's some kids that they can be 25 years old and I wouldn't want them on an investigation.
I hear that.
But there's other kids, and now I think anything younger than 11 or 12, I don't care how mature they seem, that they don't need to be on there.
Okay.
But once they get to 11, 12, 13, then it's case by case basis.
Right. Let them explore a little bit.
Yeah.
Watch them. Supervise.
Yeah. And like I said, take them to a safe space.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't just take them to some prison.
Right. Yeah. We're going to, Waverly Hills Sanatorium with a 10-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. How about you, Jerry? Do you feel like it's okay to introduce younger kids to the paranormal?
I have, and I agree with taking it on a case to case basis, and it depends on the location.
Right,
It depends
definitely.
on where you're going to go. I have taken Victor to the cabin on 360, but he's only been to the cabin part. I wouldn't dare let him go over to the brick rancher knowing what we know is in there. No,
Right,
because
yeah,
that Dobby don't leave the brick rancher at all. So,
right,
he's safe there. And I've taken him to different historical places. You
right,
know, he has his own kit. He has his own ghost hunting kit.
right,
So I agree. It's a case to case basis because we have kids that come to the manor house all the time, and some of them are really mature and some of them aren't.
right,
But also you and I know what to look for if something was to happen to our kid
right,
on a
right,
possessive side.
right,
You know what to look for, and that's where other people they don't know what to look for.
right. Typically, I could feel the energy before it
Yeah,
interacts with him, and I can,
right.
stop that. But
And my son's a magnet. My youngest one is a magnet for spirits. They follow him everywhere. Oh my gosh! One time we was at a location. It was a disclosed location, undisclosed location, and the K2 meter. I put it up against his face, and it would not stop going off. He didn't have a cell phone at the time or
Mhm.
anything, and I thought it was his braces. I know that sounds weird, but that's what I thought it was.
Right,
Well, it wasn't.
right,
I could not, and I have it on my YouTube of that particular um, investigation we did with
mm.
it just constantly going off all around him. But he has a magnet. He has a little girl that follows him everywhere.
My son, I think, has a connection to
Yeah.
my daughter. She's very connected to mediumship, but
Mm-hmm.
my son's much different.
Yeah.
He's more of the natural entities, like the elemental energy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I like I said, I've taken him out in the woods, and he's like, "Dad, do you see that over there? Dad, do you feel that over there?" But
Right.
around the house, me and my daughter sitting here talking about a spirit that was just standing there. He
Right.
actually brought a shell into the house of a lady that had passed away. Somebody gave him a shell, and he brought it home. Not,
Yeah.
he was at the time, I think 9 or 10, but um, as soon as he brought it in the house, me and my daughter were like, "Who is that lady?" And he's just blasé,
Yeah.
you know.
That
You take
happens
him
to
out in the
me too.
woods, and I think
Yeah.
I think it just instinctually talks to him.
Right.
When we had the house fire, we moved over to the new house, or the rental house, and we had a lot more land accessible because the landlord had several hundred acres that we could access. And this kid never been there before, but could walk out in the woods. And I told him, I said, "Look, you need to be careful. Keep your cell phone on." So, because he has a location tracker on his phone.
Yeah.
Um, you need to be careful so you can find your way back. Because if you're not
Right.
back here in an hour, I need to make sure I can find that tracker and come find you.
Right.
This Joker, I've walked out there with him and been turned around completely. And he's like, "Oh no, we got to go that way." It's like natural energy
Mm-hmm.
talks to him and guides him.
Yeah.
He can walk out in the woods and never get lost. And it's
Yeah.
a really weird thing, but
Yeah. Victor's like that too. Or we went to a house, actually the house next door, when I would watch their house when they would go on their trips. And he's like, "Don't you see the lady upstairs?" I mean, he stopped dead in his tracks. And I was like, "Come on, we got to go upstairs and cut these lights." He's like, "I'm not going upstairs with that lady standing there." And I was like, "What lady?" Because I did not see her. I felt her, but
right.
I did not see her. And he described her to a T. And he goes, "You can go up there all by yourself. I'm not going up there." And he refused to go
Right.
up there.
Right.
And when the homeowners got home and I talked to them about it, he described what they had saw to a T because she would show herself every so often. And
Wow.
Jennifer was like, "He's right about
Great
that."
confirmation.
So
Great confirmation. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yep. And I mean, we've done the same thing where we've been in places, and he's like, "Mom, I hear somebody talking in my ear, and they're telling me stuff," and I'm like, "I'm not hearing it, but I got it on a recording."
Oh,
On a
wow.
recorder of what
what he
of
was
the
hearing.
man whispering. So that validated to me that he did hear, in fact, somebody whispering in his ear, because I got the EVP to prove it. And I got him in the EVP saying, "Mom, there's a man talking to me," and you can hear the man talking.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. So I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
ooh, little crumb snatcher does have some abilities. The oldest could care less.
Right.
You know, he doesn't believe in any. I'm not going to say he doesn't believe in anything of what I do, but he doesn't want to be around any paranormal anything, and I'm okay with that. I respect that. But the youngest is all gun ho and ready. So
yeah, I kind of have a mixture like that where, like, my daughter's going on an investigation with the team. You know, I've kind of made her part of the PSI team, and she's going to be going to an asylum with us. She will be old enough.
oh yay.
And so she's asked me if she could go on investigations. So this opportunity came up, and I was like, well, may not be the greatest place for your first time, because there are claims of being scratched and stuff like that. Nothing too major. So I let her have the choice. Well, do you want to go? Yeah, I want to try it. Because she doesn't really investigate with us. Like, she's always been nervous to go do investigations and stuff. And I told her, I said, look, there's going to be a whole group of us. Anything that happens, you're protected,
Right.
Besides me, we're going to have another very powerful psychic that's there, my sister Lizzie, and a very strong intuitive, one of our other team members. So she's she's agreed. She's like, yeah, let's try this. Let's get into it, So I'm hoping she has a good experience, that maybe she wants to stay in that. My son, he'll watch the shows and stuff like that. And, he's just not interested on doing it himself much.
Yeah.
He has asked a few times, can we go do an investigation, which it's kind of a hit or miss with him. So it's really, and that's okay. Whatever they want to do. I don't want to push them into it just because I do it. They don't have to do it, But
yeah, my 17-year-old said, "When are we going to go shooting, Mom? Come on, let's go to the range."
Right.
And the other one's like, "When are we going to go do this?" But the oldest one is, "Let's go to the range."
Right. Right. So let me ask you guys, what do you feel? How do you feel about demons? And I even hate to use that word, because demons is a very religious term. Do you believe that demons are a real thing? Have you ever had an encounter with something you believe to be demonic?
I have not had any encounters, but I do believe that they're out there. I don't believe that they're as prevalent as one of those ghost hunting shows acts out, but
Right.
they are. I do believe they're there. They're just very rare.
Right. Extremely rare. Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Jerry?
I believe that they exist, and I've told David that I've had a couple phantom smells sometimes of urine, go through the house, or like burning flesh, like something burning, but it's only passed by. It's not like it is. Right. And for all I know, that could be something else. It may not be demonic, but I haven't encountered anything, because I did in 2014, but I really don't think that I don't know if she was demonic or not. She presented in black smoke, but she was able to crawl on the walls. But that could have been what do you call them? Shift shaper person, the ones that can the change shape and change form. That's what that's where I'm leaning more towards. But she was pretty good, because she presented in black swirls of smoke.
Right.
But then was able to transform into something that was able to slither along the walls. And she was able to do that. And then she was able to transform from something really pretty before she took me over. But she was really pretty. And then she transformed into something I had never seen before. And I don't remember anything after that, because she had channeled and took me over at that point. And that was recorded. I think I had the audio recording of that, but there was like 7 or 8 people there. My sister was there. It was a mess.
Wow. Yeah.
So no, I haven't.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I think sometimes, spirits aren't always, love and light, hunky dory. We
Mm-mm.
have the malevolent ones, but they're still human entities,
Right,
just,
right.
in spirit form. They're jerks in life. They were jerks. They're jerks in death. How do you guys feel that maybe those get confused? Those malevolent spirits that are
I think
totally
so.
human get
Definitely.
confused as demonic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I, I feel like it's much more common to run across somebody who's just a horrible person
Yeah.
than it
Or
is.
maybe they're just having a
Yeah.
bad day or they're angry about something.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I was reading stuff about we talked on our tour about Lydia Ambler. I was reading some stuff today on Ambler Mansion, and she was actually an angry woman,
Yeah,
according to what I read. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you're suicidal and distraught, but angry too, because she was mad at the fact that her husband that she married used her for her money.
that
And I was
pissed me
like,
off.
oh, this is interesting. This is a
Right,
very interesting story right here. But some spirits are just angry.
right,
Well, she's distraught, obviously, if people see her going back and forth, but is she angry too? So it's like
right. I think they get
interesting.
confused. I
Yeah.
think people
Yeah.
get, a spirit being upset about something or just being a jerk,
Yeah. And some
as
of
in
them
life,
are
so in
just
death,
jerks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it gets confused for the not knowing is probably the worst part for people. And then
Hmm.
when something happens that, feels very unfriendly, and I don't want to be negative, but I think the shows have kind of created this situation where people instantly jump to, I've got a demon in the house,
Right.
when that's not what it
Right.
is. But
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with psychic mediums too. The shows have kind of ruined it, really, in a way. It's brought it out, but it's ruined it at the same time because everybody thinks that we're all the same across the board and we're not.
right, right. We all have different abilities and that present in different ways, different
Right.
levels.
Right.
I may be stronger claircognizance than the next person, but they
Right.
see more, or I
Right.
might hear more than this person. We're so unique in just how our abilities, and I think you're right. Like
Mhm.
we get confused.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
can all do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
It's a cookie cutter type situation, and it's not.
Right. And it's the same thing with spirit. They're not always going to be the same. And sometimes they're just angry people and they get mistaken as being really negative, bad energy when they're pissed off at something,
Right,
or maybe they were just angry in their life. Because when you die, you ain't going to turn around and all of a sudden be all nice and honky dory.
yeah,
It's and it's taken me a long time to see that too.
right,
That there are angry spirits walking around. You
right,
don't think about it until somebody like you will ask questions and bring certain things like that up.
right,
So we always chalked it up to demonic. Got something
right.
demonic,
Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah.
yeah, right. So let me ask you guys this question: do you feel like spirits can follow you? And have you
Yeah.
ever had an experience where something's followed you home?
Yep.
I think we
Yeah.
all have. it's,
Yeah.
it's almost
Yeah.
across the board.
Yeah. And as far as something following me home, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I do believe they can follow you home.
Hmm.
But as far as me personally, I don't know if anything has followed me home. I think something followed my wife home at one time.
Right.
But as far as following me, I honestly I don't know.
You've never had an experience where you've been out and investigating and you come home and then some weird something happens and you can't really explain.
The only thing that had happened was one time had the dog and cat both stare in the same corner.
I have that all the time. I have
Yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah. And like I said, the one time that I one followed my wife home, I saw an orb in the middle of the hallway.
Yeah.
and there was no windows in the hallway, obviously.
Right. Yeah. It couldn't be a
And so,
reflection of something. Yeah.
yeah, so I saw that, but that one followed my wife home
Mm.
because she used to work at the manor house.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah, but other than that, I haven't had any experiences with that.
How about you, Jerry? Have you had something follow you?
All the time.
Yeah. I recently had a
All the
little
time.
boy.
Yeah. I've got a little boy and a little girl as we speak, and a man right now that I'm sitting on pretty much.
Right.
So yeah, they do.
Let me ask you this question as a follow-up. I know a lot of investigators, they leave a location and they say their little spiel of you can't come with me, you can't attach to me. Do you think that works?
To an extent. I think if they're going to want to follow you home, they're going to follow you home whether you like it or not.
Right.
Some of them might be respectful and say, okay, well, they're asking me to stay back, so I'm going to stay back. But there's that handful that are like,
Just don't give a damn. Yeah.
they don't care. I had a little girl follow me from the cabin on 360, but it was my fault from the woods. I should have told her to stay back, and I didn't, because that is a normal thing for me to say.
Right.
And I told her when she came here, she was playing with, I have a spoon. I use it for grounding. And she was playing with that spoon. And I was like, you know what? I apologize. I should have told you to return back to the woods, and I did not. Can
Right.
you go back to the woods? And I heard her with my own ears. It wasn't up in here or anything. She said,
Right.
okay, and left and went back.
Well, at least she was nice about it.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Right.
So yeah, I've had them follow me home,
Right.
but I just think it's up to the spirit. I've had some where I've left the cabin. I'm like, don't follow me home. And I had one that did anyway. He didn't care. He didn't give two craps about
Right.
nothing. He came home. He came with me anyway. He didn't care.
A long time ago, I used to, have the whole spiel of you're not allowed to follow me home. You can't attach to me or any of my equipment or, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Me personally, because I think if you have a respectful spirit, they know better.
Exactly.
You don't have to tell them, don't follow me home.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
that would follow you home are going to do it regardless of what you say.
Right. They don't care. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we have some pretty respectful spirits at the manor house. They're not all,
Right. Right.
nothing bad out there anyway.
Well, don't you have a little touchy, kind of sensitive, not all that great personality one at the
We have one that we're trying to figure out. Is it the one? I think it's the one with the heavy footsteps that I'm still trying to figure out. He's a bit creepish.
yeah,
Yeah, he's a little creepy. He's
not
not
quite as friendly.
anything. Yeah, I don't think that he's anything that would hurt anybody. It's just creepy. It's the only way I know how to describe
Right.
it.
A little overbearing, a little.
Yeah, and we have his footsteps on record too. So
Yeah.
we actually have the footstep. Well, I was setting up a video camera. I was setting up a body camera because I have a mini body camera that I use too, and I
Mhm.
stick it to stuff. And yeah, that's a Bob Love too. But anyway, we got his heavy footsteps on there. So he's just a little bit creepish.
One of these days, I swear to God, I'm going to start traveling more. I'm going to have to come up and visit you guys to
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
investigate the place.
Yeah.
Uh,
Come out and do that, and try to hit that and try to hit the cabin on 360 because Dennis now, and that makes it even better
yeah. Yeah.
because the cabin is not far from the manor house. It's what, David, about an hour?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, I'd say about an hour. So
Mm.
they're fairly close.
Right. Right.
You'd have a field day.
Uh, yeah. Even between, like, say, you and I, how we experience locations differently than
Yeah,
other people do. Even though that's the same for you and I, my experience typically would be a little different than yours.
of course.
And I am a gray walker, so I go looking for the stuff that scares people, the things that are malevolent. Um, that's kind of my wheelhouse that I've kind of gotten into, but they don't react the same way to me. They don't do the same things to me as they would say for you.
Right. Right.
They're not as
Mhm.
intrusive. Um, I don't fully know why that is. I have some ideas about it, but it's just even between mediums have a whole different experience. But even for that, I have a different experience from even that situation. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
They don't
Well,
react the same to me.
could
Right.
it be because you're a male?
That it's possible. That has been an idea that I've tried to figure out. I think a little bit of it is more my belief system. Like it's well, I shouldn't even call it a belief system, my knowing system. I know what I can do with
Mhm.
and to these things. And typically they know what I can do too. So they
Mhm.
don't force the issue as much.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there are those that are just they're gonna do that no matter what. But um I've been to locations with other mediums and they have stuff happen and then I go to the same spot and it's dead, completely quiet, peaceful because they won't
Yeah.
bother me the same way
Right.
as they would bother somebody else.
Right. And see, I'm about Reiki, love, and light. So
Right. Yeah.
they're all like,
I
oh, there she is.
right. We can go mess with them. Yeah.
Let's go
I
mess
don't,
with
I
her
just,
today.
my system that I use, I know works.
Yeah.
I've removed, malevolent energies before, and I'm very confident in that system. And I think that plays a part of why, like, if if I walked up to say, The Rock or something, I wouldn't punch him in the face. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
stir that crap up with him because he's much bigger than me.
Right.
Uh,
Whereas I would.
well,
Right.
what I'm saying. It's like I think some things just they understand that they probably shouldn't push as much,
Yeah.
and that's the experience I tend to get. But anyways, I had to ask if I like to ask if anybody's ever had something follow them home because some of the experiences that people describe is pretty remarkable. But I wanted to hear from you guys. Let me ask you guys this: if say I was a person that was interested in the paranormal, if I wasn't an investigator, just somebody that's interested in the paranormal, what would be your guys' advice for them to explore that? Maybe get into the paranormal field. What would you say? Start here and move on from that.
I would say find yourself a local group
Mm-hmm.
that's willing to take you under their wing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Show
And
you
we
the
had that.
experience.
Yeah, we had that experience. We had somebody come to the manor house that was interested in paranormal investigating, but did not quite know where to start. They were
Right.
interested in it, but they didn't know what to do. And that is
Right.
exactly what um, we told them. And now they're, getting more into the paranormal investigations and Crop has taken him under their wing. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, he'll have fun doing it. You
Right.
know, it's
Right.
addicting.
I'm always in favor of exposing people to the paranormal because I
Yeah.
I think it's necessary. One, um, and two, if you're interested in that, I get joy that people want to do this,
Yeah.
but I like to see them do it right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, not
I
that there's
agree.
necessarily a right or wrong way. I think you can put yourself in wrong situations, but my style of investigation is going to be different from your guys' style of investigation.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
but I always I want to see people get into the paranormal.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I'm,
know
and
that
I'm
a
going to,
lot a lot of people have got or you see a lot more
yeah.
nowadays than say 20 years ago when I started.
Yeah. And I'm going to step on toes when I say it, but some people get mixed up in the wrong groups of people in the paranormal field too. And they think that it's all TV
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's all because you have your paranormal teams out there that want to be famous. That's all they're looking for is the almighty dollar and their slot on the next TV show, and people get meshed in with that, and that's the wrong reasons to be in it.
Right. I think a lot
Yeah.
of us old school folks, and I would bet, David, you've been in the field even longer than I have, because I didn't start until the mid 90s. You've probably seen people come through for the maybe not so right reasons, like people just want to have experiences instead of
Yeah.
understand.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And I've turned away some people that wanted to join my team because they were doing just like you just said. They're just out there for an experience.
Right.
They're not out there to learn
Right.
and trying to help people. And I said,
Right.
this isn't the right group for you.
Right. Right. We're kind of the old school
Yeah.
Yeah.
philosophy of, we do paranormal research because we want to know the truth, not just
Right.
because we want to see a ghost,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, say, there's plenty of ghost hunts out there because that's what you want to do. You want to ghost hunt. You don't want to be a paranormal investigator.
Right. A researcher. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's
A
a
lot
difference
to it.
between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator.
That was my next question. So, what's the difference between a ghost hunter and a paranormal investigator researcher?
A ghost hunter is somebody who's out there
Doing it
for the
fun.
right now.
Yeah.
They want to find something to hear the EVP right then and there, or see the cat balls go off. They're not there trying to figure out, well, who's doing this? Why are they doing this?
Right. Who's behind it? Yeah.
Who's behind it?
Yeah.
And they're not there trying to debunk it either.
I see
Right.
that happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
I see that. How about you,
Yes.
Gary?
Same thing. I mean, we run a log of the manor house. We keep notes. We keep track of stuff there or I got a few places that I'm investigating right now. Manor house, old house woods, stuff like that. We have logs and everything on that, but ghost hunting to me is somebody going out for the day having a good time.
Right.
Let me see if I can catch something.
Right.
They're again not looking for who's behind it. Why did that happen? Gee, was the moon full? Was the energy of the earth? What was it at the time that's how we look at it, the different theories. What
Part, yeah.
did the earth's energy have to do with the fact that this spirit was able to have so much power to be able to move that ball? That's how I see it too. So yeah.
I tend to agree with you guys. I won't lie. I have a little bit different idea of it. Not that ghost hunters are bad, right? If you want to
No,
go,
of course not.
No, not at all.
No, don't get that
Right.
wrong. Yeah, no,
yeah.
they're not.
So I encourage people to go have experiences because oftentimes I know that leads to them wanting to know more. They
Right.
want to have the experiences right now. I mean, there are those that they just want to get views and clicks. They play on people's, fears. And there are those out there which I don't really agree with myself, but like the typical ghost hunter, I think there's a place for them because I think they end up a lot of times going, well, why?
Right.
Yeah.
They want to have the experiences, but eventually they got to ask, well, why? Why is this
Right.
happening? How did
Right.
that happen?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a place
Yeah.
for it.
And I tell people all the time, a paranormal investigator can be a ghost hunter,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
a ghost hunter is not a paranormal investigator.
Mhm.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
when you go to one of those pay to play things, that's what I call them, those public ghost hunts, you're a ghost hunter. You're not a paranormal investigator.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
That's
They've done the
true.
research for you. You don't have to do
Yeah.
anything but have the experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't control everybody there to get the perfect EVP session
Right.
Right.
because there's always going to be somebody whispering.
Yeah. Yeah,
Somebody's
always.
stomach growling, somebody
Yeah,
falls.
that's me.
Right.
That would be
Yeah.
me.
Right. Don't eat Taco Bell before you go on an investigation.
I
That's my
can't eat anything before I go on an investigation. And even if I do eat something, it's still the same. And it really is a
stomach
drag.
just turning and
Yeah.
growling.
And it's really funny because I don't do it at nighttime when I'm at home. I have no
Just
problems when I'm at home.
right.
As soon as I go out on an investigation, my stomach is just acts up. It's
I
embarrassing. It's
listen,
terrible.
I've made mistakes on things that I probably shouldn't have eaten before I went on investigation before.
I don't even
Now I
have
try
to
to keep it,
eat. Yeah,
light.
I
You
don't
know,
even have to eat.
I'm not
It doesn't whether I eat or not. It's awful.
right. I'm not out there, and because I'm a big fan of Mexican food.
Me too.
But I
Yeah,
know that that's not the thing I want to eat before I go on an investigation.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but so let me. Uh, I'll ask you. Even though that we see a lot of people, there's dramatics in this field. They tend to overreact or stuff like that. Do you think that that helps draw people in um, for the acceptance of our field? Um, whether you agree with how somebody investigates or not, do you think that there's a place for that, for the pure fact of it gets people out here interested in what we do?
Mm,
Uh, that's a hard one because personally, I don't think it helps.
Mhm.
I think it makes a joke out of what we do.
Right. That
yeah,
does
yeah.
happen.
I'd agree with that. Hmm.
That does happen. There's
Yeah,
there's a few people that I've come across, especially if you scroll TikTok enough, you're gonna find the complete and utter fakes. And they try to pass it off. Do you think that it's a good idea for investigators? Because we're not always looking at our own evidence, right? We're looking at
Right.
other people's evidence from time to time. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I get sent pictures and videos constantly
yeah,
of, hey, what do you think about this? Or I get tagged
yeah.
in a video, what do you think about this? Um, do you think that investigators should spend some time figuring out how people fake things, so we can spot that?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, because I'm I'm learning something constantly
Right.
on the video aspect of it. And when you find out how somebody fakes something, you can,
Debunk it quite quickly.
yeah, debunk it quite quickly.
Hmm.
Right. Right. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's almost to me a double-edged sword. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like if people know that I know how people fake stuff, that they might think that I would fake something. Do you ever feel like that could be the case?
Well, you're always going to have somebody like that.
Right.
Well, he knows how to fake it, so he obviously fakes it.
Right.
But I don't worry about people like that.
You're
Okay.
right.
If you take the time to get to know me, you're going to know I don't fake stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah, and
And
that
I've thrown out stuff before that I there if I have a question on it, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
I'm not gonna post it.
right. And I think that's a good
yeah,
sign. I think some of the evidence that I've caught before, um, I'm unsure of it. So sometimes I'll put it out there and to see what other people think. Do you think this is paranormal? Because right now I can't explain it, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be,
mhm.
a bunch of leaves of a tree, and it's pareidolia.
Yeah.
If you
That's Paul
present
Shield's
evidence,
department.
right? If you present evidence and say, look, I'm not 100% sure on this. What do you guys think? Or you post something and it's quite clearly something that can't be explained. I think your explanation of what you're putting out there should be honest, you know, at
Right.
the very least.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is paranormal, but right now I can't
Yeah.
explain it. What do you guys think? Because that other perspective sometimes can go, you know what? Here's what I'm seeing, you know, and it,
Yeah. Yeah. Me personally, the only thing that I post is stuff that I'm sure about.
yeah,
If I have a piece that I'm questioning, I might send it to a few select people
right.
and say, what do you think? Because if, let's say you post it on your Facebook page, what do y'all think? You're going to get every answer under the sun.
That's true.
Mhm. Yeah.
From it's a demon to it's an elemental or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you got a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten into a couple little disputes of things that Mr. Flowers we questioned, and he ended up kicking it out.
Yeah. Listen, here's how you keep your reputation is by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're unsure about it, 9 times out of 10, if I'm just not sure, if there might be a possible explanation of it, but I'm not thinking of it, if it's not 100% clear cut, can't be explained, then I'll put it out there. But you know, there's other times where, you know, I've heard a growl, say on an EVP, but the growl is kind of weird. You know, it doesn't sound like a typical growl that you would hear. And you're going, well, you know, maybe somebody in the room their stomach growled and they didn't mark it, or here it goes again. We're not allowed to talk about this either. We're not allowed to talk about this. Okay. All right. I quit. Now I forgot where I was going with it. I'll just leave it alone then. I'll just leave it alone. That was my warning. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you'll understand this. If you're listening to the audio podcast, go to my YouTube channel to watch what's happening in the Zoom. If you can tell me why my Zoom is going crazy on just one guest, please, for the love of God, tell me in the comments.
It's got to be a third eye thing. You know, it's got to be that.
Right.
You know, or at least that's what I'm picking up. It's that I think it's an energetic thing.
Right.
Honestly,
I've seriously, out of the 1,000 Zoom meetings that I've had, this has never happened. Never happened. So in the comments, if you're watching the YouTube version, please tell me what you guys think is going on, because if this has ever happened to somebody else in Zoom, I want to know about it so I can figure out what the heck it is, because this is really weird. I've never seen it happen like that before.
Me either. I've been on quite a few Zoom meetings and that's never happened.
Right. I've
Not
had
where I'm turning into you.
Yeah, I've had people's cameras malfunction where they freeze or, you know, it's skipping frame, but it's
not
never
what
just,
it's doing.
Yeah, just the energy.
And on certain subjects. So it's very interesting.
Right. Well, you guys, I really appreciate that you guys came on the show. I always have a great time when I come on your show. We talk about, especially this last one. You have some characters that you hang out with. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good time. I really appreciate you inviting me on your show. I definitely would love to have you guys come back on my show.
Sure.
You know, in the future.
Anytime.
But
you'll be on my show a lot more than you think you are on it now.
Well, you know, you keep inviting me and I keep coming, and I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I'm okay with
I have another invite for you.
Okay. Well, you just holler at me and
I don't even have to. I can even present it on your show. I'm sure, you know, real quickly. I'm going to do it's going to be called Psychic Talk.
Okay.
And it is going to, there will be no readings involved in it. It's just going to be strictly psychics talking about different subjects and things that we have to deal with on a daily basis from people.
Awesome.
So it'll be similar to Paranormal Roundtable, except it's going to be Psychic Medium Roundtable.
Okay.
I'm going to call it Psychic Chats.
Hey, I'm game. I am down. I don't mind telling you what happens to me.
Yep. Our date is May 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Send that to me and I will put it in my calendar.
Mark it, because I have a couple guests, also psychics, that are going to be on the show, and it's just going to be one little panel.
You send me so I can
So,
mark it on my calendar, and I don't
okay.
because I'm getting old. I'm not gonna lie,
Oh my gosh.
getting old. So,
I guarantee you we're older than you are.
not as much as you think you are. Trust
Yeah,
me.
okay.
I only look young. I got good genes. My mom, who's in her 60s, still look like she's 30. So I got some decent genes out of that. But yeah, you're not older than me by much. I guarantee you.
Okay. All right, young
But
little whippersnapper. Gotcha.
right. But yeah, message me and I will put that in my calendar.
I
Definitely.
will.
I'd love to be on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love to be
Yeah.
on the show.
I'll be there just looking pretty.
Yeah, he's
Right?
going to be
That's
sitting
your
there
job,
looking
that show.
pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be for educational purposes, pretty much.
Awesome.
So,
Get into some
yeah.
really cool subjects, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
we're going
always
to have.
interesting when you get, a whole bunch of mediums together and share experiences. You're like, holy crap, that's why.
Yeah.
Hey, I've
Yeah.
had that happen.
Yeah.
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 It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Well,
And I think it helps people too.
um,
So, other people. Yeah.
I would agree. I think it's not talked about enough. I think it's my personal opinion that I'm not special.
Exactly.
I am not special.
Yeah. Not either.
Just because I see, hear, feel all that stuff doesn't mean other people can't do that.
That's
You
right.
may not understand how to yet, or you may not have got to that point where you understand it, but I'm not special. We can all
Yeah.
do this, if you apply yourself and, you know,
Yeah. Do
train.
you want to do it? Is the
Right.
real
Yeah.
question. Do you want to? Do
Do
you
you
really
want to
want to
step
cut that
onto that
on?
journey?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and Jerry will probably back me up on this, in the beginning of your journey, you are going to feel nuts.
Yeah.
When things start happening to you, you will feel like you are crazy. I know in my position, I even told my wife, you're going to have to check me into a mental institution. There's something wrong with me. Like, this
Yeah.
is not right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand any of it. Thankfully, I had a few people come into my life that explained things, and it made more sense. But
Right.
it can be a weird journey. It
Yeah.
can be a really
Yeah.
weird journey.
Let's go to Eastern State together and have a mental health evaluation,
Right.
because that's what it felt like.
Right.
I
Right.
even pulled up to Eastern State. I was like, should I?
Or you see something that nobody else is seeing, and you're going, what? What
Yeah.
is this? What
How
are,
come you didn't see the lady sitting on the bench right there? How do you
Right.
not see her?
Right.
She's sitting right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is there an old lady, walking through the emergency room, waiting room, and I'm the only one that can see it? Like, I'm
Yeah.
nuts. I'm totally nuts.
Yeah. I know.
But
We're
yeah,
gonna lock you up.
I'm definitely down to have that show. But if
Yeah.
you guys haven't checked out Vibe Time with Jerry on Facebook, really cool show. It has some really cool guests.
Thank you.
Very good hosts.
Thank you.
David Flowers talks way too much sometimes, though. He blabs about everything.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome show. I encourage you guys to check them out. Really appreciate you guys coming on the show and returning.
We appreciate you having us too. And since David Flowers, before you get off real quick, he never says he thinks to think. He never thinks to do it, but I do. He has written a book.
Oh.
And it's called Welcome to the World of Paranormal Investigations. And you can find it on Amazon or just message him and get it.
By David Flowers.
Yes.
Well, why did you
See,
not
I have this
promote that
book
earlier?
handy. Yeah. Sorry, but y'all.
Welcome
sure you
to
get
the
the book.
paranormal. Welcome.
Yep. Welcome to the World of Paranormal Investigations. It's a really good book.
Welcome to the world of paranormal investigation
I'll
by
have to
David
talk about his
Flowers.
book. Yeah.
Check it out on Amazon or find David Flowers on Facebook and ask him for a copy. He'll sell you one.
Yeah.
Now I have to go look. Now I have to go look.
He'll sign
check
it.
it out.
He'll sign it and send it to you, right, David? Yep. See,
that's right.
I mean, hey, look, I'm all about famous people signing my book, right? So
Yeah.
I get David Flowers to sign my book.
Well, that'd be
really
an
good
infamous
book.
person.
Infamous, not infamous.
Infamous. I had to throw that in there.
Well, cool. I didn't even know that. You've never mentioned that.
He
What
normally
is
does
wrong with
not.
you, David? Why do you
I
not
don't
tell
know.
people?
I don't know. I have a hard time promoting myself.
Well, you need to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you right now. You need to.
Yeah, he sure does. He does shirts too, just to let y'all know that. I'm just throwing that out there.
I mean, Are you ever going to be honest with us, David? Are you going to tell us everything that's going on, or do we have to just dig it out of you?
Gotta keep some secrets.
I got to keep them guessing.
That's right.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on here. Thank you very much. If you guys haven't
Thank
checked
you.
out Vibe Time with Geri or Vapor Paranormal, check them out on Facebook. You can find them on TikTok. And if you guys will give me one more minute of your time, you'll hear how you can contact the PSI team and Paranormal Unveiling. And I will add that since we have some situation with the old Tiki Taki, you can find me on Clapper as well, which is not in my outro. So I'm just going to add that in there. But I implore you guys to go check out Vibe Time with Geri, David Flowers, Vapor Paranormal. Go do it, because if you're not, there's something wrong with you. You'll enjoy it. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. They're great people. And the one thing I will say is they have a reputation for being honest and truthful, and they are one of the few people that if they present evidence, I would believe it 100%, because they've gone through the steps to make sure that they're not trying to fool you.
Definitely.
They have a great reputation.
Appreciate that.
Great reputation in the field. So thank you guys again.
I'll
see you guys later.
Thank you.
All right.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. And remember, we want to hear from you. Do you have questions about the paranormal, about mediumship? Do you have a story of an experience you just can't explain? Well, do us a favor. Email us at paranormalscienceinvestigators@gmail.com. And your question or story may end up on the show. And if you'd like to see our video content, you can check us out on YouTube at paranormal_investigators, or on TikTok with the same name, or if you'd like to do Instagram, it's Josh_paranormal_investigators. Come check out our video content of actual paranormal investigations and our everyday content. Just look for the yellow PSI logo. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next episode. Love y'all. Bye-bye.